Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever had moments in life where it felt like everyone disappeared? Like the friends you thought were forever just faded away? Relationships crumbled and even family felt distant? You're not alone in feeling alone. But what if I told you that your loneliness is not a curse, but a calling? Yes, that's right, a calling. Sometimes God needs you to be alone because he has a purpose that can only be fulfilled in solitude. Think about this. Every masterpiece requires focus. Michelangelo didn't sculpt the David in a crowded marketplace. He worked alone with only his tools and his vision. When you're alone, God is giving you the space to grow, to be shaped, to prepare for something extraordinary. Solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's where clarity replaces confusion, where distractions fade so vision can bloom. God knows that when we're surrounded by noise and people, we can't always hear voice. Sometimes he removes others from your life, not because they're bad, but because their presence can't align with your purpose right now. Solitude is preparation, not punishment. God uses it to refine you for a greater purpose. When you find yourself alone, it can feel isolating, discouraging, even like a cruel twist of fate. But solitude is never without meaning. God places you in seasons of isolation because there is work he needs to do in you, through you, and sometimes for you. It is during these moments of being alone that you discover truths about yourself that cannot be uncovered in the noise and company of others. Growth often happens in the stillness, not the chaos, and what feels like punishment is often a divine setup for something much bigger. When you are surrounded by people, distractions are inevitable. Opinions, advice, expectations, these often drown out the quiet whispers of your inner thoughts and, more importantly, the voice of God. Being alone removes those external voices and gives you the chance to truly listen. There is a clarity that comes only in solitude. In that space, you're not just hearing yourself, you're learning to recognize the divine guidance that comes when the world is tuned out. It's in that quiet space where God reveals pieces of the bigger picture that you would otherwise miss amid life's clutter. Imagine a sculptor working on a block of marble. Every chip, every scrape, every hammer blow serves a purpose, transforming raw material into a masterpiece. That marble, while under the sculptor's care, exists in silence, and only in that quiet space can the artist's vision take shape. In the same way, your solitude is the space where God sculpts your character, your vision, and your strength. What you perceive as a season of loneliness is actually a season where you are being shaped into someone who can handle the weight of what's coming next. It's preparation for the blessings, challenges, and opportunities that lie ahead. Being alone also gives you an unparalleled opportunity to focus on what truly matters. Life is full of distractions, and many of them come disguised as responsibilities, friendships, or commitments. Sometimes these are valuable, but often they pull you in so many directions that you lose sight of who you are and what you're called to do. Solitude removes the distractions. It lets you press pause and evaluate what's truly important. In these moments, you rediscover your purpose and reignite the fire that fuels your passion. God isn't isolating you to make you feel forgotten. He's removing the noise so you can recalibrate your focus. Solitude often forces you to confront parts of yourself that are easier to ignore in the company of others. It pushes you into self-reflection, a process that can be uncomfortable but is incredibly valuable. When you're alone, you're not just passing time. You're peeling back layers of fear, insecurity, doubt, and pain that you may have hidden even from yourself. This self-discovery is essential for growth. And it's in this space of vulnerability that God meets you, showing you not just who you are, but who you can become. The truth is that self-awareness is a vital tool for anyone who wants to live a meaningful life, and solitude is the forge in which it's created. In solitude, God also equips you with strength. The challenges you face in isolation force you to dig deep, to tap into resources you didn't even know you had. There is no one to lean on, no safety net but your faith. And it's in those moments that you realize just how strong you can be. God uses these seasons to show you that your resilience doesn't come from external support. it comes from Him. The lessons learned in solitude have a lasting impact. They teach you independence, resilience, and faith. These are the qualities you'll need for the road ahead, and they're often cultivated in moments when you feel like you're walking alone. Another powerful aspect of solitude is the opportunity to let go. Let go of what no longer serves you. Let go of toxic patterns. Let go of past hurts that weigh you down. When you're constantly surrounded by others, it's easy to cling to old habits and relationships out of familiarity or comfort. But God often calls you into solitude to break those ties, to help you shed the things that are holding you back. It's a process of pruning, painful yet necessary, to make room for new growth. What feels like loss in the moment is actually a gift, a chance to start fresh, unburdened by the weight of the past. This period of preparation through solitude isn't just about what you gain, it's about what you're becoming. In isolation, you develop the qualities that are essential for fulfilling your purpose: discipline, patience, focus, and a deeper connection with God. These qualities don't develop in a vacuum. They are forged through trials, through moments of doubt and perseverance. God knows what lies ahead for you, and He's ensuring that you're ready for it. He's building your character in a way that no amount of external validation or support could ever achieve. Solitude also gives you a unique opportunity to recalibrate your relationship with God. When you're surrounded by people, it's easy to depend on them for encouragement, advice, and guidance. But in solitude, you're reminded that no one can fill the void in your heart except God. You learn to lean on Him in a way that's intimate and personal. This deepened relationship becomes a cornerstone for everything else in your life. It's in the quiet, in the moments where you feel like you have no one else, that you realize God's presence is enough. And this understanding becomes a source of strength that carries you through all seasons, not just the quiet ones. Solitude isn't a permanent state. It's a season. And just like every season, it has a purpose. God doesn't leave you in isolation indefinitely. He uses it to equip you, to build you, and to prepare you for what's next. When the time comes, you'll step out of that season with a clearer sense of direction, a stronger foundation, and a renewed sense of purpose. But until that moment, He's asking you to trust the process, to embrace the quiet, and to let Him do the work that can only happen when you're alone. Every moment in solitude is a step closer to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Elevation requires separation. Letting go of others allows you to rise to new heights. In life, there will come moments when the path to your purpose narrows, and the companions who once seemed essential can no longer walk alongside you. It's not an indication of failure, nor is it necessarily about their inadequacy. It is about alignment. The higher you ascend, the fewer people are equipped to journey with you. And this separation is not something to resist, but to embrace. When God calls you to greater things, the demands of that journey shift. Elevation is not just about reaching a higher level, it's about stepping into a greater capacity, one that often requires shedding what no longer fits with your growth. Just as a rocket sheds its boosters after they serve their purpose, you too must recognize when relationships, environments, or mindsets have taken you as far as they can. What got you here won't get you there. And while that realization can be painful, it is necessary for forward movement. The process of elevation inherently involves releasing what once was to make room for what can be. The people in your life have roles, and not all of those roles are meant to last forever. Some people come into your life as lessons, others as blessings, and still others as distractions. It's easy to mistake someone's temporary presence as a lifelong commitment, but discernment comes when you realize that not everyone can go where you're headed. It's not about judging them, it's about understanding the purpose behind your own path. God has a unique calling on your life, and with that calling comes a unique set of requirements. There are heights you are meant to reach that demand focus, discipline, and alignment, and sometimes that means you have to go alone. The truth is, we often hold on to people out of fear fear of loneliness, fear of letting go of what's comfortable, fear of what life will look like without them. But fear is never a good guide for growth. Staying connected to the wrong people, those who drain your energy, question your vision, or hold you back, only keeps you stuck. Elevation requires faith that letting go is not losing, but gaining. It's trusting that the emptiness created by separation will be filled by purpose, new connections, and divine alignment. Think of the process of climbing a mountain. As you ascend, the air gets thinner, the terrain more difficult. Not everyone is prepared for the journey to the summit. It's not that those who can't make the climb are lesser, they just aren't equipped for this particular path. You have to be okay with parting ways when the time comes. Elevation involves recognizing that separation is not rejection, but redirection. God is leading you to a place that not everyone was designed to occupy, and that's okay. What feels like loss is actually part of His plan to position you exactly where you're meant to be. Separation isn't always about physical distance. Sometimes it's about emotional boundaries, creating space to grow into the person you're becoming. There may be people in your life who unintentionally project their doubts, fears, or insecurities onto you. They mean well, but their presence can hinder your progress. When you decide to elevate, you're not just deciding to achieve more, you're deciding to think differently, to act differently, and to align yourself with higher standards. Not everyone will understand, and that's perfectly fine. Your journey doesn't require everyone's approval. It only requires your obedience to the path God has set before you. As you rise, you might notice that separation creates discomfort. It stirs up feelings of guilt, uncertainty, and even loneliness. This is because humans are wired for connection, and letting go can feel counterintuitive. But every step of separation teaches you something valuable. It builds your resilience, sharpens your focus, and helps you rely on God rather than others. It's in these moments of discomfort that you discover your inner strength, the ability to keep moving forward even when it feels like you're leaving parts of yourself behind. God's elevation often means pruning. Just as a gardener removes branches to encourage more fruitful growth, God cuts away the parts of your life that no longer serve your purpose. It could be a toxic relationship, a stagnant habit, or even a mindset that limits your belief in what's possible. While this pruning process may be painful, it's also necessary. You can't carry old baggage into new seasons and expect to thrive. The space created by separation allows new opportunities, new people, and new insights to flourish. It's not about abandoning your past. It's about stepping boldly into your future. Another aspect of separation is its role in redefining your identity. When you elevate, you're stepping into a higher version of yourself, one that aligns more closely with your purpose. But identity shifts are not easy, especially when you're surrounded by people who only know the old version of you. Their perceptions and expectations can become chains, holding you back from the transformation that's taking place. Separation gives you the freedom to shed those expectations and embrace who God is calling you to be. In doing so, you're not leaving people behind to hurt them. You're stepping forward to honor the person you were created to become. Elevation requires separation because greater heights come with greater responsibilities. As you ascend, your time, energy, and focus become more valuable. You can no longer afford to invest in things or people that don't contribute to your mission. It's not about selfishness, it's about stewardship. God has entrusted you with a vision, and protecting that vision sometimes means making hard decisions about who gets access to your journey. It's not about cutting people off abruptly or harshly. It's about making room for alignment with God's plan for you. The key to navigating this separation lies in perspective. It's easy to see it as loss, but in truth, it's preparation. It's clearing the path for what's ahead. God removes the unnecessary so that you can focus fully on the essential. The moments of separation are often followed by incredible breakthroughs, opportunities, and blessings that wouldn't have been possible if you had remained entangled in what you were meant to leave behind. Loneliness builds inner strength. It's a season for self-discovery and growth. In the quiet moments when the world seems distant and it feels like no one is there, something profound begins to happen. It's in these moments of loneliness that you're forced to confront yourself, to peel back the layers of distractions and noise that often define our daily lives. What may at first feel like emptiness is actually a profound space for growth and self-discovery. Loneliness is not a void to be filled with distractions, but a unique opportunity to look within and uncover the depths of your true strength. When you're surrounded by people, their voices, their energy, and their expectations often shape how you move through life. While this interaction is part of the human experience, it can drown out the quiet voice of your own soul. It can cloud your ability to hear God's voice clearly and understand your path. Loneliness strips away all those external influences and places you face to face with your innermost thoughts, fears, and dreams. This forced self-reflection may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's in these quiet moments that your strength begins to surface. You learn to rely on yourself, to face challenges without the immediate safety net of others, and to dig deeper into your faith and personal resources. Loneliness is a teacher, and one of its most valuable lessons is resilience. Without the constant presence of others to lean on, you discover just how much you're capable of handling on your own. It may feel daunting at first, but over time, you start to realize that the strength you need has been within you all along. Life storms don't pause when you're alone, they keep coming, and it's in weathering them by yourself that you grow tougher, stronger, and more resourceful. These experiences become the foundation for a deep-rooted resilience that can't be shaken by the uncertainties of life. As you navigate the season of loneliness, you also begin to understand the true value of solitude. It's a space where clarity replaces confusion and where priorities begin to align with your purpose. So often, we fill our lives with activities, commitments, and relationships without questioning their significance or impact. When you're alone, those distractions fall away, and you're left to face the core of who you are and what you want. This process of reflection is where growth begins. It's in this solitude that you start to identify your strengths and address your weaknesses, not from a place of criticism, but from a genuine desire to evolve. Loneliness also reveals how much energy we expend on external validation. In the presence of others, it's easy to unconsciously seek approval, to gauge your worth based on how others perceive you. Being alone removes that dynamic, forcing you to redefine your sense of self-worth. You start to realize that your value isn't contingent on anyone's opinion or validation. Instead, you come to see that your worth is intrinsic, rooted in your existence and God's purpose for your life. This shift in perspective is transformative because it builds confidence that doesn't depend on external factors. Another powerful aspect of loneliness is the time it provides to build your relationship with God. In the company of others, it's easy to prioritize human connections over your spiritual connection, but loneliness creates a void that only God can fill. In those moments of solitude, you have the opportunity to pray, reflect, and truly listen. You begin to feel a sense of peace that comes from relying on a higher power rather than on people. This deepened spiritual connection becomes a source of strength that carries you through not only your lonely seasons, but every aspect of your life. Loneliness can also ignite creativity and innovation. When there are no distractions or interruptions, your mind begins to wander, explore, and imagine. Many of the world's most influential ideas and creations were birthed in solitude. Whether it's an author writing a masterpiece or an inventor designing a groundbreaking technology, solitude has always been fertile ground for creativity. When you're alone, your mind has the freedom to think deeply, to connect dots you might have missed in the chaos of life, and to dream boldly without limitations. This creativity becomes another avenue through which your inner strength is revealed and expressed. It's important to acknowledge that loneliness can be painful. The absence of close connections, the feeling of being unseen, and the yearning for companionship are real and valid emotions. But even in that pain, growth is happening. Pain has a way of revealing truths about ourselves that comfort often hides. It exposes areas in our lives that need healing and encourages us to address them rather than avoid them. It's in facing and overcoming this pain that we cultivate resilience, wisdom, and empathy. Loneliness is also a season of preparation. Just as seeds are buried in the darkness of the soil before they sprout, moments of solitude prepare you for new seasons of growth and opportunity. While it might feel like nothing is happening on the surface, below the surface, roots are growing deeper and foundations are being built. This preparation is essential because it equips you to handle the challenges and responsibilities that come with the next chapter of your life. Without this period of solitude, you might not have the strength, clarity, or focus needed to step into your purpose fully. Another lesson loneliness teaches is the importance of self-love. Being alone gives you the space to understand your needs, desires, and boundaries. It's a chance to treat yourself with the kindness and compassion you might usually reserve for others. As you learn to love and care for yourself, you build a foundation of inner strength that allows you to thrive independently. This self-love isn't about isolation. It's about ensuring that your well-being doesn't depend on anyone else. And then it's a form of empowerment that allows you to give and receive love from a place of wholeness rather than neediness. Seasons of loneliness also remind you that everything in life is temporary. The pain, the discomfort, and the emptiness will eventually pass, but the lessons and growth you gain will remain. These moments teach you to find peace in the present, to appreciate the stillness, and to trust that this season has a purpose. They remind you that just as seasons change in nature, your life will continue to evolve, bringing new opportunities, relationships, and experiences in due time. Loneliness then becomes not something to fear, but something to embrace as a necessary step in your journey. God wants you to rely on Him, not people, for identity and purpose. In a world that is constantly pulling you in different directions, it's easy to base your identity on external factors. Your relationships, job, achievements, or even the approval of others can become the foundation of who you believe you are. But when those things falter or disappear, you're left questioning your worth and purpose. This is why God often leads you into seasons where you have no choice but to rely on Him fully. He is teaching you that your identity and purpose come not from the shifting sands of human opinion or worldly success, but from the unchanging foundation of His love and plan for your life. The human tendency is to seek validation and meaning from those around us. We're wired to want connection, to desire community, and to find a sense of belonging. While these are natural and even necessary aspects of life, they can also become crutches that prevent us from fully leaning on God. When you constantly look to others to define your worth or guide your decisions, you risk losing sight of the divine purpose for which you were created. God doesn't want your identity to be tied to fleeting relationships or temporary circumstances. He wants you to know that your value is rooted in Him, and that knowledge only comes when you learn to let go of your dependence on people. This process often begins when God allows circumstances to remove the distractions and supports you've been leaning on. It might feel like relationships are drifting apart, opportunities are slipping through your fingers, or life is not going the way you had planned. In these moments, it can be tempting to feel abandoned or forgotten. But in reality, God is He's stripping away the things that were never meant to define you so that you can see clearly where your true foundation lies. This is not an act of punishment, but of love. It's His way of redirecting your focus to the one source that will never fail you, Himself. When you rely on people for your sense of identity or purpose, you set yourself up for disappointment. Even the most well-intentioned individuals are fallible, and their support can waver. Human relationships, while valuable, are not equipped to bear the weight of defining who you are. This is a burden only God can carry. By shifting your reliance away from people, God is teaching you to build your identity on something eternal. He wants you to know that you are His child, fearfully and wonderfully made, and that your worth is inherent, not contingent on external validation. Relying on God for your identity also frees you from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval. When your sense of self comes from other people, you become a prisoner to their opinions. You might find yourself constantly trying to please them, change to meet their expectations, or avoid conflict at all costs. This way of living is draining and unsustainable. God wants to release you from that bondage He wants you to understand that your identity is already secure in him and no one's opinion can add to or take away from it. This freedom allows you to live authentically, unapologetically, pursuing the purpose God has set for your life. Purpose is another area where God wants to shift your reliance from people to him. It's easy to look to others for direction or confirmation about what you're meant to do. While seeking wise counsel is important, it can't replace the divine guidance that comes from God alone. He is the one who created you, who knows the plans he has for you, and who understands the gifts and abilities he has placed within you. When you rely too heavily on others to define your purpose, you risk settling for a version of your life that falls short of what God intended. By learning to lean on him, you gain clarity about your unique calling and the steps you need to take to fulfill it. This reliance on God also strengthens your faith. Trusting him to define your identity and purpose requires letting go of control, which can be a challenging process. It means believing that even when you don't have all the answers, God does. It means accepting that his plans for your life are better than anything you could imagine, even if they don't align with your current expectations. Faith grows in the absence of certainty, and God uses these moments of reliance to deepen your trust in him. The more you lean on him, the more you see his faithfulness, and this builds a foundation of confidence and peace that no circumstance can shake. God wants your reliance on him to become the lens through which you view every aspect of your life. This perspective shift transforms how you see yourself in the world around you. Instead of measuring your worth by external standards, you begin to understand that your value comes from being made in his image. Instead of striving to fit into societal molds or gain the approval of others, you focus on fulfilling the unique purpose God has given you. This alignment with God's will brings a sense of fulfillment and joy that nothing else can replicate. One of the most powerful aspects of relying on God is the peace it brings. When your identity and purpose are rooted in him, you're no longer at the mercy of life's ups and downs. The opinions of others, the challenges you face, and the setbacks you encounter lose their power to define you. You're able to navigate life with a sense of calm and assurance, knowing that your foundation is unshakable. This peace allows you to approach each day with confidence, secure in the knowledge that God is guiding your steps and that his plans for you are good. Relying on God doesn't mean isolating yourself from others or rejecting their support. Instead, it means placing your ultimate trust in him while allowing human connections to enhance rather than define your life. It's about understanding the difference between valuable relationships and misplaced dependence. When your reliance is on God, you're better equipped to form healthy, balanced connections with others. You're able to give and receive love from a place of wholeness rather than neediness, which strengthens your relationships and allows them to flourish. Through this process, you begin to see yourself as God sees you. You're no longer defined by past mistakes, current challenges, or the opinions of others. Instead, you're defined by the love, grace, and purpose that God has placed on your life. This understanding becomes the foundation for everything you do. It shapes how you approach your work, your relationships, and your personal growth. It gives you the courage to step into new opportunities, take risks, and pursue the life God has called you to live. The more you rely on him, the more you become the person he created you to be. Separation from others creates space for transformation. God reshapes you in solitude. When God leads you into a season of being alone, it is not a sign of abandonment, but a deliberate act of refinement. In the silence and stillness that comes with solitude, you are given the rare opportunity to grow, change, and become the person God has destined you to be. It is often in isolation that the most profound transformations take place. For it is in these moments that distractions fade, clarity emerges, and God's voice becomes more audible in your life. Transformation is not something that happens in a crowded room. It requires space. Just as a sculptor works alone with their creation, shaping and molding it into something extraordinary, God uses solitude to shape your character and strengthen your faith. When you're surrounded by people, their opinions, energy, and presence can influence your decisions and direction. While community is valuable, it can also prevent you from fully hearing the whispers of God's will. Solitude removes the noise, allowing you to focus entirely on the process of transformation God is leading you through. During seasons of solitude, God often brings your weaknesses, flaws, and fears to the surface. This can be an uncomfortable process, as it forces you to confront the parts of yourself you may prefer to ignore. But this confrontation is necessary for growth. Transformation begins when you stop running from yourself and start facing the areas in your life that need healing and change. God uses these moments to refine you, removing the things that no longer serve your purpose and strengthening the qualities that align with His plans for you. It's not about perfection, it's about progress and becoming more of who you were created to be. Solitude also teaches you self-awareness, a critical component of transformation. Without the constant influence of others, you are able to reflect deeply on your values, priorities, and actions. This reflection helps you identify what's working in your life and what needs to change. It gives you the clarity to see patterns that may have been holding you back and the courage to take the necessary steps to break free from them. Through this process, God is not only transforming your circumstances, but also reshaping your mindset, attitudes, and beliefs to align with His vision for your life. In this space of separation, God also works on building your faith. When you're alone, you're more likely to turn to Him for guidance, comfort, and strength. It's in these moments that you experience the depth of His love and faithfulness. As you rely on Him more fully, your trust in His plan grows and your relationship with Him deepens. This transformation of your faith becomes the foundation for everything else in your life, providing the stability and confidence you need to navigate challenges and pursue your purpose. Transformation in solitude is not only about what God removes, but also about what He adds. And the stillness, He begins to plant seeds of new ideas, dreams, and possibilities within you. He gives you a vision for what's next and equips you with the tools and wisdom to pursue it. This is the beauty of solitude. It's not just a time of letting go, but also a time of receiving. You may not always see the results immediately, but trust that the seeds God is planting in this season will bear fruit in due time. The process of transformation also involves the renewal of your mind. Solitude provides the perfect environment for this, as it allows you to break free from the distractions and pressures of the world. It gives you the chance to replace old thought patterns with new ones that align with God's truth. As your mind is renewed, you begin to see yourself, others, and the world through His perspective. This shift in mindset is one of the most powerful aspects of transformation, as it changes not only how you think, but also how you live. Another important element of transformation in solitude is the discovery of your identity in Christ. When you're surrounded by people, it's easy to define yourself based on their expectations, opinions, or approval. But in solitude, you are stripped of those external influences and you're left to discover who you truly are. This process can be challenging, but it's also incredibly freeing, as it allows you to step into the fullness of your God-given identity with confidence and clarity. Transformation also requires patience, as it is rarely an instant process. God works in seasons, and the work He is doing in you during solitude takes time. It's easy to become frustrated or impatient, especially when you don't see immediate results. But trust that God's timing is perfect and that every moment of solitude serves a purpose. Each challenge, revelation, and breakthrough is part of the greater transformation He is orchestrating in your life. The key is to remain faithful and open to the process, even when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. Through this process, God is preparing you for what's ahead. Transformation is not just about personal growth, it's also about equipping you for your purpose. The lessons you learn, the strength you gain, and the changes you undergo in solitude will serve as the foundation for the next season of your life. You may not fully understand why you're going through this season of solitude, but trust that God is using it to shape you into the person you need to be to fulfill your calling. Finally, solitude provides a sacred space for communion with God. In the stillness, you have the opportunity to hear His voice more clearly, to feel His presence more deeply, and to understand His heart more fully. This connection with God is the ultimate transformation, as it aligns your spirit with His and empowers you to walk boldly in the path He has set before you. It's in these moments of intimacy with God that you realize the true purpose of solitude, not as a punishment or a period of waiting, but as a divine invitation to be reshaped, renewed, and prepared for the extraordinary plans He has for you.